Very good morning and welcome to Beach Talks. I hope you're keeping well from where you are and a bit warm. I have my cup of tea here. My goodness, I just remembered my guest as well. We need one. But anyway, welcome to Beach Talks. The state of the economy for businesses in Kenya. What's happening, especially on the manufacturing side? We keep saying that, listen, a country that manufactures is a country that can be self-reliant. How are we doing? Are we thriving with all these legislations coming up and the likes? I'm in the house with the usual man that we always call when we want to know about matters policy, Job Wanjohi, the head of policy research and advocacy at the Kenya Association of Manufacturers. But just before then, Job, I don't know, what would you like me to serve you? Some hot water, some hot tea? How would you like it?
I would like to have some hot tea.
Some hot tea, yes.
Yeah, with less sugar.
With less sugar. You need
but
to
very strong tea.
Okay, no problem, no problem. So would you like it with some milk, with some...
without milk.
Without milk?
Yeah.
Wow, my goodness. How are you doing, sir?
We're trying our best.
Yes.
It's a very cold morning. And cooking policy every day.
Oh yeah, you're right. You know, the other day I saw you with the members of parliament.
Yes.
And I don't know whether it was a sweaty room or whether things were flowing well.
I'm happy we were listened to.
Yes.
But we were not heard.
You're right. Oh, you were not.
Being listened to and being heard, it's two different things.
It's two different things. How many sugars may I serve you? Just two. That's what you call minimal, eh?
Yeah, that's minimal for good morning.
There you go. Please put your bag for yourself as we have our conversation.
Okay. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome. So, guys, please tell a friend to tell a friend that we are up and running live, and we'll be having this conversation just about the state of the economy for businesses in Kenya. And Job Wanjohi is here in the house, our resident man to always ask all these things that are happening, especially on matters policy.
Yeah.
You know, Job, it's been an interesting season, I must say this. And I think I have, over the call, sometimes called you to ask you a few things here and there. We had now the finance bill, now it's already signed in, and the courts have already said, hey, we're here. And I've seen even people backdate. Even people's pay slips now have got an effect.
Yes.
Effective now. I'm sure yours, you've seen something.
Yeah. I'm a bit worried.
You're right.
Yes.
But especially on the manufacturing side of things, and have to be very honest with you, I have spoken to a manufacturer here or there, and there's quite some concerns. And I'm sure you have been doing your best to ensure that we have a better environment. But on a landscape kind of conversation, from where you sit on a bird's eye view, how are we doing?
Thank you so much, Maina, and
Yes.
also for this invite.
You're right.
I would say that generally, the manufacturing sector is thriving.
Yeah.
In terms of the value output.
Mm-hmm.
Because we have seen the increment in the value output from 850 billion shillings from 2021 to 2022, when we are at 1 trillion shillings.
Yeah.
That means there's an increment of 150 billion in terms of output.
Okay.
But what's happening is that other sectors are growing faster than the manufacturing sector. And that's why the GDP contribution by the manufacturing sector is sliding.
Yeah.
It has slid from 9.3% in 2018 to 7.2 in 2021 to now 7.8. At least there was a minimal growth last 1 year to 7.8.
Yeah.
But our ambition is to get to 15 or 20%, 15 by Vision 2030.
Yeah.
But the new government by Kenya Kwanza administration is looking at how we can grow this by 20%. Intentions are good.
Yes.
Actions are a bit wanting.
And I'm sure you sit at a place where you're seeing it all.
Yes. So you find that we have set a very good, global macro target and goals. But when we come now to, the mechanics, you find the levers are a bit wanting. Because if you look at the finance bill, which now was assented to the Finance Act.
Absolutely.
Challenged through the court process.
Yeah.
And now it's being implemented, though the process is still going on at the court hearing process before we get the ruling. The various areas we appreciate that happened, and they are of good to the manufacturing and also to the country. One is the reversal from 16% on exported services. Now it is 0 rated. So that's a positive move.
Okay. Yes.
Because we have various manufacturing hubs in the country that have subsidiaries, or they have branches across the continent, and they get their services from Nairobi. So when we export that service to their branches, and another service is being exported from South Africa to that branch, South Africa becomes cheaper. So they would rather outsource rather than get from their own. Subsequently, we had seen reduction on exported services in the manufacturing supply chain and value chains. The other thing also we noted is on inflation adjustment. On excess duty, which used to happen every year. At least now it will not be happening every year. Every year it was too much of a frequency that every July of every year there is a change as far as excess duty is concerned. Now can be determined within 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, based on the feelings between the National Treasury, the private sector, and the Kenya Revenue Authority. A few other areas that I would say that we register some win. However, if you look at the wins and you look at where we feel there's a loss, the loss is more bigger than where we have the win. Areas to do with export promotion and investment levy that has been imposed on areas that we don't have enough capacity. We, as Kenya Association of Manufacturers, we are not opposed to that export levy, export development and promotion levy. Let me just call it levy for the sake of this discussion. We had initially intended that it is imposed on goods that we have abundance capacity to manufacture in the country, which are otherwise imported. So that we protect our own. But in reverse, it is being imposed on intermediate and raw materials that are imported, of which we don't have enough capacity to produce locally. So you find probably the production capacity is at 50% or even at 30%, which is very low to impose such a huge levy of 17.5%.
Absolutely.
And 10%. And this is in products that are in the metal sector, in cement, and also in the paper sector. What is going to happen is that after we have exhausted the stock that had been imported of the intermediate product, and we are unable to source locally because of lack of capacity, we will still continue importing the same intermediate product, but now pay the duty, and subsequently the cost of production will be higher. Our supply will also be the retail pricing also will increase. So it's going to affect the cost of living. It's also going to affect the standard of living. Also, you need to consider that we operate at East African Community, what is called Custom Union, whereby we have 7 partner states that have come together and we trade freely among us each other. When you impose such a levy, and it's not imposed in Uganda, it's not imposed in Tanzania, you find there's a huge differential in terms of the cost of input. If Tanzania is at 0, us we are 30% cost of input. If Uganda is at 15%, we are at 30%. So you find they will trade to Kenya more cheaply. And it's us previously who were traded to their countries. So we lose their market in their countries, we lose our market in Kenya. So it's something that we are so eager to look at how it's going to play. And we hope the statistics that we're going to produce, and we are telling the government, let's have these statistics together jointly, so that you can analyze the impact, the fiscal impact that this is going to cause, and subsequently you can make a decision. I don't want us to get to where we had excess on some of the products like now alcohol, cigarette, whereby they are it's an syntax because we want to reduce the consumption of these products. But 5 years, the government has realized increasing excess duty is not going to work because people have now gone to consume the illicit trade,
Yeah.
traded products like now alcohol and cigarettes,
Yeah.
and subsequently have realized, okay, we'd rather maintain an optimal fiscal policy
Yeah.
on them so that they can buy something that is standard rather than going to the dens where the illicit brew is being
Yeah.
is being brewed. So that's one example of export levy.
Okay.
We have other examples to do with the exemption status of like now medical products. You, me, and anybody else can
Yes.
fall sick.
You're right.
But the costs of consumption of drugs should be as easy as possible.
You're right.
And even this falls within what is called the standard, the SDGs. You find it is one
Access
of the
to
goals.
healthcare.
It's
You're right.
about the healthcare.
Yeah.
Even when you talk about universal healthcare, as Kenya Kwanza administration is one of the pillars.
Yes.
But now you find the medicaments have been moved from zero rated to exempt status. So, and when you move them to exempt status, what happens is that companies which manufacture drugs in the country
Yeah.
are unable to claim back the VAT, as opposed to when they're zero rated, when they're able to claim back the VAT. The inability to claim back the VAT, they are going to pass over that cost.
To the consumer.
If they cannot be able to shoulder it, they're going to need to pass it to
Yeah.
the consumer.
Yeah.
And when you also talk about, even like now the housing levy,
Yeah.
we're talking about the governance systems are not in place.
They're not
We're not opposed to the development of as many houses in the country
Yes.
at a rate of 1.5%. But do we have enough governance structures? In the past, we have seen the money hitting the consolidated fund,
Yeah.
and we don't know where it is. It vanishes. It doesn't go to the intended, to the intended purpose.
Yes.
So there are all those few challenges that we have under the Finance Act.
Yeah.
But even away from the Finance Act, we can even talk like now the cost of electricity. If you look at the cost of electricity, how it has escalated the last 2 years, even at the household level, everybody is feeling the pinch.
Wow.
But it's because of a few fundamental issues that have not been addressed. One of them is the system losses.
Yeah.
You find that the cost of power keeps escalating because there's a lot of loss that happens. So it is started at about 22.5%. Almost, let's say, for 100 units that Kenya Power supplies, 25 or almost 25 units are lost. So those 25 units that are lost are averaged on the cost that comes to you and comes to me. And subsequently, you find that goes up.
Yeah.
So manufacturers, you find, instead of showing this high cost, comparing to like their peers in Tanzania, Uganda, Egypt, which are below by almost 60%, they are moving now to alternative. Like now the solar energy.
A lot of it, yes.
Yes. So I'm trying to paint a picture of a sector
Yes.
that is quite ravaged by the fiscal policies that the government is coming up with, and various other policies that are a bit wanting.
I love that, and I think I love how you've opened up the entire scenario, because you've touched on very many aspects that Kenyans in the next few, I think, let me call it a few days, they will start seeing this, because directly for manufacturers, you have to make something, and whatever you're making, even if you're not going to increase for yourself, the moment you see these taxes coming over, you just have to direct them as sure. And I understand that. One of the things that I wanted to ask you is this, and I'm sorry because I'm going to throw all my mind to you.
Yes.
One thing is that I have seen, and I'm loving the conversation, especially on the cost of power.
Yeah.
I'm loving the conversation that soon enough we shall hear companies like KenGen sell directly, to consumers. Hopefully it can be fast-tracked, but to hear that we still lagging behind on trying to address this main cost of power, because I know manufacturers complain, especially when it comes to the matters of cost of power, and that we have the ability to produce as much power, which is actually clean energy, and it's not being affected as fast as we should see, then there's a question there. I feel there is a system governance issue that should be addressed. But as we address that story of the power issue, I'm curious to understand this. EABL released their financial results just the other day, and when I looked at the paper, they had made losses for the first time. A company that has always been, always been at those helms. BAT as well, they're on a low. the question is, these are manufacturers, these are people who I know are under your care as well. What's happening? Is it this not a wake-up call to the government and say, hey, we need to protect our very own? What do you see?
Maina, I can tell you that the consumption of the alcohol
Yes.
and cigarettes
Yes.
is as high as has been before.
It's still as high.
It's high.
Okay. I thought you'd say people are not.
No, it's
Then
high.
what's happening?
It's high. Statistics are showing that it's high.
Yes.
But what is happening is that we have a lot of illicit trade.
Oh.
Yes. And the illicit trade is caused by the fact that one cannot consume what is coming direct from some of these companies. So we have contrabands,
Yes.
counterfeited products,
Yes.
which are illicit traded across the country. Another scenario is the excise duty,
Yes.
which was stopped this year because of such losses that have been registered, is not being charged across in Uganda and Tanzania. We are the most expensive. So when you go to the border counties in Kenya,
They
they
cross
cross
over.
over, they come staggering back to Kenya.
Because it's cheaper there.
So the volumes are the same,
Yeah.
but as a country at a loss.
Okay.
I hope you now understand
Now I get it.
where we
Okay.
are.
So people are still
See-
drinking, but they have found ways of getting
Yes,
it cheaper.
quantums are still the
Across the border.
same,
Yeah.
but guys are looking for alternatives.
You're right.
And these alternatives sit on revenue losses for the government. These alternatives sit on the social impact
Yeah.
that it has
Yeah.
as a country. It sits on the economic impact. It even sits on the family crisis. Because if one goes and takes something that is substandard, it checks in at the family level
Yeah.
as a social issue. And you find that there's a lot of disruption that is really happening.
Yeah.
So when you see BA, TA, BL registering these losses,
Yeah.
is as a result of an environment that is a bit wanting. And there's a time that now the government sits back and asks itself,
Yeah.
out of all the duties or the taxes that we're coming up with,
Yeah.
what is effect it has
Yeah.
as far as the whole spectrum
Yeah.
is concerned?
Okay.
From revenue generation,
Yes.
from the sustainability of these companies,
Yeah.
from the economic stability, economic security and whatnot.
Yeah.
So that impact analysis or assessment need to be conducted. And that's why even we are saying, as far as like now the export, development and the promotion levy and the investment levy, that is a levy that we ought to have conducted impact assessment before
Yeah.
it is imposed.
Yeah.
Because in the next 2-3 years, the effect is going to be seen.
You're right.
That's why we are saying that we need to walk the same road with the government,
Yeah.
hand in hand, generate the statistics,
Yeah.
and see the effect that is going to have on their revenues, the effect is going to have on the cost of living.
Okay.
So that's the reason why you see these companies are a bit affected, because government never listened the last 5 years.
Wow. Now, let me ask you, because the latest that I have seen is that, for example, even yesterday, the president was very vocal saying that they have allowed importation of sugar because there's a shortage. That was a similar story also with the palm oil. There was a time there was low taxes for the importation to come in, and I've had people in the sector make some noise on that. And all these are people under your care. Let me use that word
Yes,
today
yes.
on the seat. And I'm wondering, is this a trend? Shortage, lower taxes, import. People outside there in other circles, which is not our discussion today, say it's ways of some people also benefiting, in their own way. But on the other hand, it has a net effect on us locally, thinking of our own solutions. And let me just give a preamble of why I'm asking you this question. During COVID, there was an awakening that, by the way, we may need to think of how we can survive on our own. And there was, mushrooming of the abilities of what we could do because there was a crisis then. All of a sudden, we are no longer caring. There's no COVID, there's no nothing. Now we can now start bringing anything anyhow, which is a mess. And, someone painted a picture of the thousands of jobs that are at risk when we allow this particular importations to just come in anyhow. And I'm concerned, Job. One of the things I'm asking myself is this: is the government of the day worried about this number of jobs that will be lost? And I'm asking this with a lot of respect to the fact that they came with the angle of we have to create job creations. And maybe not unless you advise me, I don't know, from my research, manufacturing has a big role to play when it comes to job creation. Let me give an example. When there was a Malaysian Palm Oil Council happening in the country, Malaysia killed its unemployment just through the plantations of palm oil and the net effect. So I would like you, because you've been sitting with government in those offices, I'd like to know whether is it that they're not seeing this, and why are we constantly doing this? Is it that we cannot produce even sugar cane? Is it that we have, or maybe all that land has been wasted? What's happening?
Minor, don't be surprised that for the longest we are net importer of almost everything that we consume in the country.
Oh no.
But because we have not been very intentional, we have never awakened up our conscience as a country and seen
Yes.
the effect that some of these policies that we implement have on every Kenyan. In terms of employment, in terms of self-employment. Because this is the source of livelihood. Our interest has been, how can we do what is called backward integration? And backward integration is whereby the manufacturing is here, which can supply to the country, to the region, and to the continent.
Yes.
But we are sourcing most of the raw materials locally. But you find where the source is, it has been crushed. It's not working.
It's not working.
That's the reason why the sugar belt is not working.
Yeah.
Pyrethrum belt is not working. The rice belt is not working. Wheat, maize, beans, potato, everything is not working.
Yeah.
But it's because we have policies in place. We have geniuses in this country who are looking at the policies, looking at varieties of the right potatoes and the rice in different regions, even government agencies that have cracked on this. But when we move to the implementation, is always a bit wanting.
Yeah.
And if it is wanting, that's the government gets now the appetite of importation because there's shortage already.
Yeah.
But there's instances like now you have asked about the edible oil.
Yes.
Whereby a shortage is not there.
Yes.
The companies that are here, which are importing what is called the crude palm oil,
Yes.
CPO.
Yeah.
The CPO is one that is value added. And it is where now we get the edible oil this side, and this other side we get out of the byproduct, we get the soaps and the water.
Soaps and all that. Yes.
Many other products. So out of that, it was wrongly looked at because it destabilized the edible oil sector in the country.
Yeah.
And that's a different discussion altogether because we don't have palm oil production in the country. So I would encourage importation of the crude palm oil.
Yes.
We do the value addition. As we work on the backward integration, growing our palm oil, the palm tree, in the next 10 years, we can harvest out of it, getting alternatives from canola oil and many others, even avocado oil, because of a lot of avocado that we are exporting, which is raw.
Oh, yeah.
And if we have abundance of the raw materials and intermediate products, which is then uptaken by the industry, we will create very many jobs in between here. These jobs will be in every county because a county, not all counties can plant the palm tree.
Yes.
The palm tree probably can do well on the coastline or even on the western region. When you talk about Lake Victoria, because in Uganda it's doing well. But when you move to potato, you find potato is doing well in Nyandarua and many other counties. When you move to pyrethrum, it's doing well in Naivasha. When you go to like now livestock keeping, there are pastoralist counties of which we can source this from. And when we have the quality raw material and intermediate product at that level uptaken by the industry, no one will complain of lack of a job in this country. Let me tell you.
Yeah.
Manufacturing sector is the second largest employer in the country.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
From the public service.
Yes.
That means in the private sector, it is the largest.
It is the largest
employer.
Right. Yes.
So these are sustainable jobs. Not the one that you get a job today and you lose it tomorrow. You can sustain the manufacturing from that for 15, 20 years.
Yeah.
And that's why we're saying that let's be intentional as far as manufacturing is concerned.
Yes.
Let's be intentional as far as the sectors that support manufacturing
Yeah.
are concerned. If it is agriculture sector,
Yes.
mining sector,
Yes.
let's be serious at that level. Let's have abundance, and out of this abundance, let's have quality raw materials.
Yeah.
And then the industry drives commitment. And
Yeah.
I'm moving now to what we're calling the agriculture for industry
Yes.
project that I'm running at Kenya Association of Manufacturers. And we are looking at various value chains, looking from cereals, maize, wheat, rice,
Yeah.
moving to avocado, because avocado mostly we are exporting when it is raw.
Okay.
Looking at tomato, potato, and various other value chains of where we have comparative advantage.
Okay.
And we are signing a commitment with counties, government agencies, for our members to uptake from some of these counties.
Yes.
And this launch for this project is going to happen by the end of this month.
Okay.
So that we can have more jobs that are going to be created along the value chain. We have aggregation centers because these are small-scale farmers that are producing these potatoes
Yeah.
and the tomatoes. We have the aggregation centers. We have the transportation. We have insurance companies. We have healthcare systems around these. Many jobs are going to be created.
Absolutely.
But do we have the right intentions to do this? That's why I started by saying that the macros up here look very good.
They look good.
But the levers down here, sometimes they become wanting. And we need now, as a country, from the private sector and from the public sector, coming together, being intentional so that we can drive this job creation and investment creation in this country.
Okay. I'm telling you, we can have a whole day of discussions on these areas, but I still have one more question on how we are doing. Looking at our peers around, our neighbors, talking about Uganda, Tanzania, because there was a time, somebody told me there was a time in Tanzania, for example, a lot of products they would consume on their tables were coming from Kenya. It's no longer the story. And then we have expanded as the East African community, courtesy of the AFCTA. And now there's Congo and all that. And we've seen, maybe on the financial sector, we have seen great strides moving on and the likes. And I wanted to ask you on our end, are we growing as well? Are we tapping things there, or our neighbors have taken over?
I think the big brother syndrome needs to die.
Oh my goodness.
As a country.
Yes.
Because for the longest...
We have been enjoying that for long, eh?
Yes. The hegemon status, feeling that we are the greatest in the region and whatnot. This is winning. This is going away.
Yeah.
And it is high time that we become, again, serious in how we are conducting our business.
Yes.
Tanzania has increased its trade to Kenya because you don't have talk of export because you're in the custom union. It's trade into Kenya.
Into Kenya.
From 18 billion in 2018, billion Kenya shillings, to 54 billion.
Oh my.
300% increment.
What about us?
Yes.
What about us? Are we?
Us?
Yes.
But we have not even hit 90% increment as far as the trade is concerned. That means that country is doing better than us.
You're right.
And that's why even the President Suluhu was laughing at us another day.
Yeah.
Saying the country...
Kwa jirani.
Yes. Yeah.
That's
Kwa jirani kuna moto.
Yes.
Because we are not intentional yet, but the country has set its stage for takeoff. Tanzania has set its stage for takeoff.
You're right.
We are still the biggest economy as far as the GDP is concerned.
Yeah.
But being the firstborn doesn't mean that you are the best.
You're right.
There could be another second born here and third born here.
Coming up.
Who are coming up very fast.
Yes.
Are they coming and overtake you?
You're right.
It's healthy competition, but it also speaks of our inability to move our policy space and the operationalization of the same to the best direction.
Okay. Yeah. I'm going to put you on the spot here because yesterday again, no, it was actually the day before, the president was complaining big time about some of the officers he has that works with him. Some of them are clueless, that's what he said, don't know much about what's happening. And there's a lot of discussions politically about then why did you choose those people and the likes. Those are discussions for another time. You're sitting with the government a lot and the people who are mandated to ensure that some of these things have a proper ground for skyrocketing our manufacturing sector. Two questions. Are they listening? And are they understanding these things that you're trying to tell them to see the future? I just wanted to ask you.
I initially said that listening, yes, is happening.
Okay.
And a lot.
Yes.
But being heard
Oh.
is a different story altogether.
Okay.
And we want to be heard.
Yes.
And when you're talking about the political, sorry, the office holders at the executive,
Okay.
one thing you have to reckon with is that if you have not been in a certain area,
Yes.
and you're appointed to a department in an area that you have never handled in the past, it becomes a little bit of a challenge.
You're right. You're right.
Sometimes you need to be given time to settle down, but there's only this enough time that you can be given to settle down. And in the meantime, as you're settling down, you have a lot of technocrats
Yes.
that are below you, who have been in that ministry probably for 20 years
And they
or
understand.
15 years.
You're right.
And these are the people that you can depend on, so that they can drive the policy at that level.
Yeah.
As a PS or a CS, you're driving, the macro issues at a very high level. And then over time, you're able to get ingrained on what is happening within your department. But if you're disconnected, yours is only to exchange, like what, the deputy president or the president was talking about, exchanging the luggage at the airport.
Yes.
That means you're not touching base with your ministry. There will be a problem. So the advice I would give is that for one to become effective in an office, you need first of all to sit down and listen to those who have been in that office.
Absolutely.
You get their mind, you infuse your mind in their process,
Yes.
and a blend gives something better.
You're right.
Rather than when you're so disconnected, and then you leave it to the technocrats to handle the ministry. So let them get down working on the business,
Yeah.
and then things will happen. On the same note,
Yes.
it's good to note that the contracting cycle happens from July to the end of June the following year.
Okay.
Because that's the government year.
Yes.
So let's not feel like the contracting is happening 1 year
Yes.
after they were appointed, or 11 months after they were appointed.
Yes.
It is because we are at the start of a new financial year.
Okay.
That's the reason why they're getting this. They got the contracts.
Okay. So we'll be waiting. I mean, I can't wait to see how things are going. And let me just get some of the questions people are asking. And I've seen one that I think is quite prudent. I think he's talking about policies. Are there any recent policy achievements or success stories that you have observed? And are they factors contributing to the... Okay, I think we got the question. Are there any recent policy achievements or successes or stories that you have observed? I think that's the question. Probably in your conversations, or maybe they are on the stages of hoping
Yes.
to get to a success. Yes.
One of them is the greening of the economy.
Okay.
Moving to circular economy and the greening of the economy. Through the Finance Act, we have seen the movement towards that, whereby we are moving now to EV motorcycles.
Okay. Yes, I'm
And that's a great movement, because what will happen is that we'll have less dependency on the petroleum products.
Yeah.
And where our grid has enough power to power the electric motorcycles.
Yes.
Then we will lessen on the dependence of that petroleum. It has also an effect on the exchange rate or the dependence on the dollar.
Okay.
That's one thing that we have seen that has a good effect. Another policy is when we have, because everybody in the country has 1 or 2 mobile phones, and the supply of locally assembled mobile phones, these will be zero rated, such that when you supply these, to be exempted, such that when you supply these, the VAT that could have been charged at 16% is not applicable on this. It's only that there is now the aspect of inability to claim back the VAT. So that's another area that we have seen, a positive move.
Okay.
Another positive move that we have seen, which is a policy change, is the government intention to have various value chains being addressed. There's huge discussion. Even in the budget that was released, we saw about 267 billion shillings being put in the budget so that it can address 9 value chains, from the edible oil we are talking about leather products, textile and whatnot.
Yeah.
So that we can integrate them back rather than depending on the fabric that we import.
Okay.
We have the cotton belt in the country, or where we have the abundance of cotton, or where it can even be planted, and then we have granaries to be invested in. So those are various policy changes which are a bit positive.
Okay.
And what we need also to understand as a country is that as we are making this, some pain is likely to be felt.
Okay.
Because government is likely to now protect these value chains so that they can be able to grow.
Yeah.
But as we do this, we must ensure that we have lessened the public profiteering as much as possible, so that these sectors can grow as fast as possible.
Great. I'm just shooting the questions as they come. This one is a mouthful. John is asking, apart from the government, sorry, I have to rephrase this question so that at least it makes sense. So apart from what government is facing as a challenge, are there any people challenges or I think introspective challenges that we need to address? I think what he's asking is there any challenge apart from the government, which we have really talked about and which you really look at?
Yeah.
Is there something that probably locally we need to also start doing within ourselves? Yes.
Of course.
Yes.
and this is a debate that I love very much.
Okay.
If you look at how our culture, is set up, you will see that we have a culture that needs to be changed as a country.
Okay.
Because we have been complaining about successive governments, which have different heads of states, they have different executives,
You're right.
they have different technocrats, but the effect as far as the governance is concerned is still the same.
It's still the same, yes.
We are still complaining about corruption. So at the individual level, you need to ask yourself, if you hold this office, will you be a game changer? Will you change from how the successive office holders have been to a different whereby you are a public servant and you can, and even in the private sector level, because corruption does not only happen from the public sector perspective.
You're right.
It is both that collaborate, the private sector and the public sector. So if the private sector can say, we are going to observe this code of ethic as far as governance is concerned, you'll see the substantial change that will happen. But also when you're talking about the corporate level, there are various changes that need to be instituted. One of them is how efficient are we in our operations?
Yes.
In our inputs, like now when you're talking about the power, instead of using 5 units to make one product, this is the way you can be efficient, to use 2 units to make that product. So that is a farm level intervention that I can equate to an individual intervention.
Okay.
Another one is utilization of water, how we dispose water. You see, even at the individual level, there is what we can call the circular economy, where you don't throw the byproducts. You always look at how that byproduct can be used, alternatively to bridge another gap. And by doing these, you become more efficient and your processes become less costlier.
Absolutely.
At the corporate level and also at the individual level. So not always the policy at the government level that need to be changed, but also down here where we live. At the corporate level, at the individual level, still there's some work that needs to be done.
There are about 3 questions that I've read here, and most of them are concerned about now what's the future of manufacturing in the country. Yes. I think they are worried about what they are seeing as some of the things we're discussing and the things that the government probably is doing of the day. I don't know what picture do you see from where you see it. Let's assume, I think we can make 2 scenarios here. Assuming nothing changes, the things that you're trying to push, of course, constantly you have to keep pushing.
Yes.
But assuming nothing changes and we just go the way we are going, what do you see in the next 3, 4, 5 years from your perspective?
What I said is that the issue that I'm raising here about manufacturing, every sector is raising. The Finance Act, if you came to the hotel where we are doing the submissions to the Parliamentary Committee on Finance, every sector was represented with various memorandums of complaints about the Finance Act. Every sector is complaining. But some sectors are complaining less because they are less affected than others. As now the manufacturing sector is highly affected by now the Finance Act.
Yes.
But in retrospective, I started by saying that the manufacturing sector in the country is growing.
It's growing, which is a good
growing.
Yes.
And if you look, you crack statistics.
Yeah.
2021 we were at 850 billion worth of manufactured goods. By 2022 we were at $1 trillion worth of manufactured goods. Our intention by 2030 is to grow to 5 trillion Kenya shillings.
Okay.
And to grow to that, we must keep singing this song. Because we know this is what is going to give the light to this country. We cannot stop manufacturing at all. Okay. So I would encourage that Kenyans still get into the manufacturing, knowing very well that as an association we are working very hard with the government to ensure that what we're talking about is being heard at all corners, and hoping that the 100% listening that is happening is going to be translated to being heard and operationalization of some of the policies that we are proposing.
As we come to a close of this conversation, Job, I have seen in your organization, you have been partnering a lot with organizations that are like-minded. One of it I have seen is the TVET side of things. I've seen you do a lot of things on that, and I know that's a policy kind of way of pushing certain things. I don't know, because we still boast of having the youngest of populations, energetic and all that. From your perspective, do we need to instill more of this? You know, just yesterday there was a whole reform, I mean the day before, on the education sector and the likes. And I'm sure you have peeped to see whether our manufacturing sector is being affected. Yes, being affected in a way. Yeah. What do you see, and how is this problem? Are the young people embracing this? Because we need more than ever as many as we can in these sectors.
Yeah, I would say that education is major input into manufacturing. Yeah. And what we are interested with is to see, like now the TVETs and the university curriculums and whatnot, they are embracing the new knowledge that is required by the industries. If you're talking about like now the IT, information technology, we are moving from Industrial Evolution 3 to Industrial Evolution 4, whereby now it is robotics, you know, you're operating in the clouds. You can manufacture one part in Asia, another part is being manufactured in Kenya, they're meeting in Egypt, and everything that you're controlling from here, or they're being controlled in South Africa. This is what we need to see seated in the curriculums. Okay. At the TVET level, or a technical and vocational training level, and also at the university level. And we are coming up with university-industry collaboration. And this collaboration is to ensure that the industrial needs are addressed are addressed onset at the university level, and also at the college level, so that we have the right skill coming on board. Your question was, are young people embracing this? I have to say yes, they're embracing this. Okay. And we have a program that we run as an association, whereby we have industrial needs being matched with the output from the colleges and the universities. And the industrial needs then are addressed through that. We have placement, industrial placements, and these industrial placements, they end up subsequently being being taken on board as at a permanent and pensionable terms by some of these industries. So young people are taking up this, and when we like it.
Excellent. I don't know. I know I could have asked as broad as many questions, and I know guys I could have asked for that, but time is not really on our end. But I wanted to give you the chance, and then, oh my goodness, there's already a question here about women in manufacturing, but that one I must ask so that I'm not beaten.
Yes.
But I wanted to also give you a chance to probably speak from your perspective. Any area you feel right now is of concern and you would want Kenyans to know about. But before, as you compound your thoughts on that, let's talk about this question on, that you founded, someone is saying you founded the Women in Manufacturing program. What's really is the role of women in that sector, in the manufacturing sector, and why is it important to champion inclusivity in this particular sector? I'm sure you are part and parcel of the UN Global Compact, and so those are things that are with you.
Yes. Women in Manufacturing is a program that we started out of realization that we have fewer women that are doing manufacturing in the country.
Yes.
We ensure that we have that gender discussion in the manufacturing, either at the management level, at the board level, or even at the ownership, proprietorship level. Okay. So that women do not feel like this is a male affair. that it is only men who can be in the manufacturing, in the management, and also in the ownership. And I'm glad to note that out of the annual forums that we normally hold, we have seen encouragement for women getting into manufacturing. Being held from SME, their scalability and their sustainability to better companies. So it's a question of demystifying the manufacturing and the challenges that may be coming with it. We have seen women engineers coming on board. We have seen women entrepreneurs coming on board. We have seen women, directors in various boards coming on board without many giving names. And we are really appreciating that this conversation now is changing, and it is no longer a men owned or men affair. It is both genders that are able to get into this space. And how do we do this? We do this by hard-holding women and at the startup level, advising them on what does the startup look like. Because it's a question of how do I go to KEBS? How do I go to NEMA? How do I go to KRA? How do I go to this agency so that I get my business being registered? Or even when you're talking about the ability to supply your goods to the government, to the government side, once they have been manufactured, you get the visibility of the information. So that information, asymmetry is no longer there. You find out it's symmetrical across the board, from women to women, and then you find at all levels of manufacturing sector, from management to ownership. To controlling at the board level, we have a lot of women that are joining.
Okay, great. I want to give you that last chance of something that Kenyans right now should brace themselves for. Anything that you have in mind, sir?
The Finance Act, I would say that it is going to take effect this month.
Yes.
Anybody salaried, expect some retrospective application.
That is over and above the fuel that you're now paying because of the 16%.
Yes. So what I would advise Kenyans, because it's not only those that are affected, we have those who are affected even by the turnover tax that was increased from 1% to 3%.
You're right.
Of all these, of course, all these is meant to increase the taxation base. What I would advise Kenyan is that we should try as much as possible, always, to check on our expenditure levels. If we have not been able to address your revenue levels.
Yes.
Because the expenditures can remain at 100%,
yes,
but your revenue has been depressed at 70%.
Yeah.
Then you start borrowing, and your life at the family level, your life at the company level, your life at a country level also becomes sustainable.
Yeah.
So it is everyday analysis, seeing what the effect of the fuel has on someone. If you can do carpool with your neighbors, do carpooling. If you can embrace cycling. All these are ways of cutting costs. Mine is true. All these are ways.
No, you're right. I'm just thinking of myself.
Yes. What I would advise Kenyans so that we don't get to an issue that you're addressing, the side effect of what you're facing today as economic crisis as a country, is that let's always check on our expenditure levels against our revenues, so that we don't get into debt crisis, we don't get into financial crisis. We are able to maintain within what we have been left with. The government is 45% shareholder in your pocket.
Yes. Yeah. My final part in short to you would be this: can we one day dream to be a Singapore, a Malaysia? Is that a possibility?
It's a possibility because 65 years ago, Kenya and Singapore and Malaysia were at the same level.
They were, yes.
But the difference is the governance system. They were intentional,
yes.
We were not intentional.
Okay.
We can be there if we are intentional on our vision. We say that we want to have this GDP of 35 trillion cash shillings in the next 10 years.
Yes.
Then we ask ourselves, what are the mechanics below there? And we become intentional on those mechanics.
Yes. Oh, no, I cannot end without asking this. There's something about the illegal. The government, the court yesterday ruled about these matters of cutting trees, and someone has pointed that out, that that lift on the Logan was illegal, and so that people should not cut trees. I don't know what you have to say about this ban of logging and the impact it has on the timber sector.
The timber sector was quite affected the last couple of years, from 2018, where the moratorium was put in place against logging of trees.
Yeah.
Again, it begs a question
Yeah.
on the governance, because we can be able to, to have an ecosystem that is balanced.
Yeah.
We can know that this is the number of mature trees. This is the number of immature trees. And the immature trees, we don't have to harvest them. The problem is, they will be rushed to harvest the mature trees.
Yes.
And through misgovernance, we'll harvest even
The immature.
the immature ones.
Yeah.
So again, it has the question, have we put the right governance systems in place? I know on one hand, our furniture sector was quite affected. Trying to cross over the logs from Tanzania and Uganda sometimes proving a bit challenging. But it's a question of governance. Opening up is okay,
Yeah.
but as we open up, will we ensure that immature trees are protected? Yeah.
Wow. I don't know what the future holds. and I think
We
it's
have to
also,
address governance systems
you're
in this
right.
country.
You're right.
Yeah.
Because I can see the dilemma. Sometimes
Yeah.
you want to harvest the mature ones,
Yeah.
but people who go to harvest
Yes.
sort of take the opportunity to take
Yes.
advantage of
Yes.
the likes.
Yeah, yeah.
Job Wanjohi, it's always a pleasure having you here. It's 9 o'clock and we have to keep that time. Thank you so much for your time, guys. This conversation is not ending now, because we have to keep seeing what is going to happen, especially even the next 1 month. So be sure to constantly accept our call when we call you.
Anytime.
Anytime. Okay. There you have it, guys. Great conversation on the state of manufacturing. That's it here right now on BizTalks. I leave you now with just a bye-bye and keep working. It's going to be tough a bit, but let's see what goes out. Thank you.